2023 has been an unusually great year for films. From the exciting success of the Barbenheimer phenomenon to the bustling independent and international film community, we have seen some truly great movies. It finally feels like we're out of the clutches of the global pandemic that hit the film industry so hard. According to Fortune, the largest movie theater company in the world, AMC, saw over a 45% increase in revenue this year. We have also begun to see the seams of the once unstoppable superhero genre film as releases like The Flash and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania struggled to meet financial and critical expectation. But in this absence, old Hollywood legends and new rising auteurs seem to be filling in the gaps, for the better. World cinema feels like it is more accessible than ever and playing a vital role in the box office as well. So in celebration, here are some honorable mentions and the 10 movies that stood out the most to me this year. The Iron Claw, directed by Sean Durkin, is a tale of Southern familial repression, wonderfully directed through the tinted lens of the 80s wrestling. It honestly feels like a great rock ballad. And Zac Efron gives a career best by avoiding something flashy and giving us something stoic and quiet. Sanctuary, directed by Zachary Wiggin, is easily the best romantic comedy of the year, featuring an absolutely star-making performance from Margaret Qualley. Barbie, directed by Greta Gerwig, uses the Barbie brand to talk about existentialism, patriarchy, and the world we build, using her great influences as a guide, and with the help of Robbie and Gosling, walks the line of sincerity and irony in a beautifully funny film. Certainly one of the best films in pop cinema. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is a brilliant screenplay that strikes at the central flaw to much of comic book storytelling, the canon. And lastly is Beau is Afraid, directed by Ari Aster, which is more of a Don Quixote type of story that mixes a Kaufman deconstruction or Roy Anderson's pitch black comedies into a story about guilt, shame, and fear, looking at the fear we experience from the moment of birth, particularly the relationship of a mother and a son through the dynamics of sex, grief, art, and coming of age. Shout out to these films, and now on to the Big Ten. Since its release on Netflix in the middle of December, Bradley Cooper's passion project has been completely ripped apart. I think in part it has stemmed from Bradley Cooper's earnest interviews about how hard it was to play legendary conductor Leonard Bernstein, and the stories of it taking him 6 years to learn conducting for one sing certainly made me roll my eyes. But the filmmaking is completely undeniable. A film that is made of vignettes of a marriage and how it changes and grows over time. While many people have been discussing Bradley Cooper, and rightfully so, it is Carey Mulligan's performance as Felicia Montealegre that centers the film. She gives a powerhouse performance that matches the equally sincere and heartfelt performance from her director. While I do think that the editing style is a bit claustrophobic, there's truly no denying the emotional impact that the film had on me. From the soaring performances of Mahler's second to the crushing heartbreak of the final 10 minutes, Maestro is certainly exciting filmmaking that deserves acknowledgement. The Palme d'Or winner from Justin Triet is not a new kind of filmmaking. The film is certainly pulling on many great influences from the courtroom, drama, thriller, and even some films that attendees of Cannes might think is more schlocky, like Basic Instinct. But what it creates with a taut edit, incredible music selection, and maybe the best acting ensemble of the year, that includes the dog, is outstanding. A film about perspective and how we look at others' lives, and marriage is under the microscope of the court system. The irony of the only witness being a visually impaired son only drives these ideas further. And Sandra Hüller may have had the most impressive year out of any actor, and I apologize once again for not being able to see The Zone of Interest yet, but her performance leaves a chilling air of space between us and the character, giving us a indecipherable performance as we slowly are learning more and more about this relationship, in which we only have one side of. A truly rock-solid film. David Fincher's return to the thriller genre is a reward in its own right, bringing together some of the best technicians in the film industry to make a taut and action-packed film. Certainly the sound and cinematography stand out, but it's the stoic and hilarious voiceover that is the true highlight, slowly exposing the flaw of the self-proclaimed perfectionist and the society that it props up. From the Smiths' needle drops to the action-packed set pieces, the film never gives you a minute of wasted time. And David Fincher continues to prove he is certainly one of the best filmmakers working today. Godland was a late addition for me, which is funny because technically the film was released in 2022, but didn't make its way over to the US until the middle of this year. Yet this is certainly not a film to be overlooked. This Icelandic-Danish film follows the story of a Danish priest who is commissioned to build a church in southeastern Iceland during the 100 years of colonialization of the island. He brings along his camera and takes 7 photos, which the opening titles tell us are based on the first photographs of the land. From there, the film shows us the brutal relationship between man and nature. As a character says in the film, the land is brutally gorgeous, brutal and gorgeous. Using the old school photography as influence, the film is shot in a beautiful 4:3 aspect ratio. While you see this beautiful landscape, it is contrasted with the brutal systems humans build to control or maintain power over one another through the systems of language, religion, and politics. Certainly a film that requires patience and will remind many of the works of Werner Herzog and Ingmar Bergman, but those who lean in will find what I think is one of the most profound films on humanity's relationship with nature and itself. Movie makers love to make movies about making movies. Some are good. Most are much too self-important and mythologize the artist to the point of parody. And honestly, Kelly Reichardt's new film is not about making movies, but it very well could be. We follow a struggling artist played by Michelle Williams as she prepares for a big exhibit for her new work, but Reichardt rejects the previous ideas of what it means to be an artist. She instead shows us the small, everyday struggles that range from feeding the cat to your water heater not working, the struggles we all face on a day-to-day basis, and I think this is where the film's power truly lies. Attempting to pursue something earnestly as your livelihood, while others unintentionally get in the way. But in the end, it's those others who matter in the first place. A film of quiet tension and brilliant detail, and certainly one for the artist. May December feels much in line with the rest of Haynes' work, outside of its lack of lesbians, with the austerity of the camera and its completely controlled direction, along with the wit and humanity of the performances and the screenplay. Written by screenplay writer and casting director Sammy Birch, which holds a particular power when seeing the film, we follow the story of a 90s tabloid story where a 36-year-old woman named Gracie, played by Julianne Moore, sleeps with and grooms 13-year-old boy Joe, who is played by rising star Charles Melton. Where we find them, however, is close to 20 years later when they have remained together and are currently raising their soon-to-be graduating twin children, a fact that the film presents early and without a bat of an eye, leaving you immediately off-kilter and unsure of your feelings of these people in this story, an uneasiness that has made its way to Twitter and sparked certainly a number of insufferable arguments on the film, but through them we find an actress, Elizabeth, played by Natalie Portman, as she prepares to play Gracie in an upcoming movie. What follows is a dynamic triangle drama, as Elizabeth hopes to uncover the truth and attempts to find empathy for Gracie. We slowly begin to question both who Elizabeth is and the intentions behind her intrusion into the story. Todd Haynes remains one of the most outstanding directors working today, through his connection with our modern fascinations and his ability to show it in a mirror back to us. What you'll find in May December are questions of morality, of showing someone's reality, especially in exploitative places, and who is being harmed in the end. Wes Anderson's Asteroid City is a film that seeks to understand the beyond by looking within. A postmodernist story as we watch a television show about the making of a play, intercut with the play itself. The play follows a family dealing with the loss of their mother as they travel to a science competition for the eldest son. Set in the Roswell-esque 50s, amidst the height of the space race and Cold War, Anderson uses this time period to perfection, as he creates a summer-like atmosphere. Amidst the arrival of the family in the beginning of the exhibition, a sudden arrival of an alien sets our story on a path of the meaning of life, grief, and performance. While many are calling for Anderson to dial down his style, he continues to push forward, hoping to find these deeper meanings of life through his own storytelling. In a year where we saw many master filmmakers return to the big screen, it feels like Miyazaki had the most to say about his own work and career. The Boy and the Heron is nothing completely new to the world of Miyazaki's Ghibli films. You have Japan dealing with post-war hardships and lingering effects of fascism, struggling with loss and grief, escaping to fantastical worlds to find understanding in the real world, and cute creatures. Just like Grand Uncle, Miyazaki is building upon all that he has made before, both commenting on its impact on our lives currently and the legacy it leaves behind. The animation is stunning in the most unsurprising way, and certainly contains great performances in the voice acting as some of the great actors line up for their chance to voice a character for this iconic director. Yet the true star is the story, asking us the major questions in life. How do you live? Martin Scorsese is someone who is constantly reckoning with himself, whether it be his cocaine-filled days in 1990's Goodfellas or his faith in silence. Scorsese's guilt-filled conscience has long been the voice of America. Here, Scorsese looks at Western colonialism in the eyes, with the simmering crime drama. Yes, this is a gangster film from Scorsese, but it's not in any way in the style of much of his work in that genre. There is no mystery here. The killers are blatant and calloused and honestly stupid, but there is no sign of hope for the Osage Nation. Choosing to follow the story through the marriage of Molly and Ernest Burkhart, we see a dark reflection of those who are complicit and participate in a society that actively is trying to steal and murder from those it deems unworthy. Thelma Shoemaker's edit of the film is slow and mournful. The quick cuts are violent and uncomfortable. It's only through the spiritual and familial bonds that the film finds life. Lily Gladstone's performance alone represents a quiet confidence, and yet a trust that the person she loves will protect her. We, like Molly, are sinking slowly into the mire of the film, as what we feared becomes more and more obvious. Scorsese's own guilt bubbles up from the surface in a way we've never seen, as he questions the power of the very art form he has lived for and protected his entire life. Duality is certainly a theme in my list this year. From the conflicted men of Maestro or Killers of the Flower Moon, to the secret nature of characters in May December or Anatomy of a Fall. But I don't think there is a film that quite topped the divided nature of Nolan's Oppenheimer. Through the massive IMAX 70mm lens, shot by one of the greatest living cinematographers, Hoyte van Hoytema, we see a man who holds the power of the world in his eyes. Cillian Murphy gives one of the greatest performances of all time in Oppenheimer. A man so focused on his showy appearance as the greatest salesman of science, that he loses his morals in a bureaucratic world, told mostly through his cold blue eyes and stoic demeanor that seems like it might break at any moment. Jennifer Lame's edit exposes a side of Nolan's filmmaking we've yet to see, one that slips into the sublime through images inside the mind of a physicist, along with the feeling of never being able to pin down who this man truly is. A film that features a murderer's row of incredible supporting performances that could as well take up the entire supporting actor category at the Oscar. Visual effects and production design that perfectly take you into the past, and yet exposes inner turmoil. Gene Tatlock, played by the exciting Florence Pugh, who helps represent his own complicated relationship to the bomb, along with Emily Blunt's strong performance as his constricted wife, Kitty, represent the best written women in any of his films yet, which had certainly been a weakness in the past. The overwhelming and dynamic score from Ludwig Göransson adds a driving nature to a film that never feels overlong. And all these pieces come together to create one of the most overwhelming, crushing, and complex films of the decade. Hey guys, I just want to come on and say thank you so much for everyone that's been involved this year on the channel. This is like a birthday video in a way. A year ago I put out my 2022 list, so I just want to come on and thank y'all so much. This year I promise I'm gonna try and be better at outputting videos, and I want to hear what everyone in the community really liked this year, so leave a comment on what your favorite films of the year were. I'd love to talk to y'all in the comment section. I hope y'all have a great new year. We're 2024. Woo! Alright, thank y'all and have a great day.